Hello from my side. I'm Alexander Arpaci, working at Bike Plan, and I present maybe a little bit of a different approach. And my first question is, who of you has been at a large-scale development talk from Australia? So I think that was something, maybe I bring that perspective a little bit into it, because I think that was very impressive, and I'm thinking of moving to Australia after that kind of development. What I'm going to present today is we at Bike Plan, we do master plans, we do consulting, we do set up systems for, let's say, new and old-time actors in the tourism sector. A lot of our clients are communities, tourism, still there? Yeah. Tourism clubs, or also existing tourism projects who want to extend their, let's say, tourism products into the mountain biking world, but never have been active in any kind of mountain biking so far. What I would like to start with is setting a little bit, setting a little bit this framework for it, because I think it's really important why we are all here. This is the biggest IMBA Summit, as I have heard, forever. So this is 160 people now. I think it was quite small in the beginning, and what we can see is the development over the years, which will not stop so far. I'm 100% sure we will see projects, summits, everything will grow because of technology. I'm quite convinced technology is the driver in all our life. So what you see, 2007, this is a phone. This was the year when the smartphone from iPhone came out, and this is a bike. We wrote, maybe if you have been a mountain biker at this time, this is a bike then. Well, iPhone, new bike. And I think this showcases very much how much we need to adapt and develop our planning and our mountain bike products, because the use case of mountain biking has changed so much from riding on forest roads to promoting trail and sportive use of mountain biking. And these bikes make it so much easier for so many more people. And this is the reason why tourism sector is actually interested in us, because we bring new people which are not hardcore mountain bikers, but broader user group into there, because they're looking into families, best agers, all these buzzwords in the tourism industry. They can now finally have an experience on the mountain bike. And I just want to set this in your mind, which means we have now so many new mountain bike products which are different from what we had like 2007. So what we are designing, building, planning, we are building skills areas. You have heard about that, pump tracks, trail parks, so small project, I think, like what Heiko talked about in my language, that would be a trail park. Trail centers, which are larger networks, we can see those in Scotland and other places popping up. And then additionally to a lot of the ski infrastructure, now we build bike parks in the last years, and they become more family friendly at all. All these bike parks try to get new customers on green and blue lines, because this is where, well, there's economic success. So if we have that in mind, we need, when I step up and we have new clients and we set all these projects, and I will showcase you 2 projects of our portfolio, but there's many more. We try to raise the awareness quite in the early beginning, because getting funding nowadays is rather easy, I would say, for the building of a project. It's not super easy, but if you're going to write a funding application with our clients, well, mountain biking is on their list pretty high. It's climate change, it's rural development, it is sustainable, and all of these questions. So they get the funding, but they have no experience how to run actually trail infrastructure. And I think that's what we all struggle as well a little bit still, how to run this especially large-scale mountain bike infrastructure, as we have seen in the Australian presentation or in Scotland or so. How can we maintain, how can we keep up to date? So I have like 4 key operational challenges. So I think maintenance, we have heard a lot about that, and maintenance is a big, big thing, which costs a lot of money afterwards. So I'm talking about 4 challenges, which are money related. So this is really a big thing, which we try to, in the funding phase, we already think about what do you do after you have built? How much money do you need per year? How's your maintenance budget? Because this is the quality and the success of your project. If you have never run any touristic infrastructure in terms of trails, well, whose responsibility? Helping them to setting up the operational structure. A lot of the communities have strong legal questions about how can they combine their forces, how can they work together with privateers or volunteers, how to set this up. I think that's a big challenge, Let me go back. And that's where we try to help them out and consult them on that topics, because it's a key asset. If you worked with administrations, you know they're very risk aware. So we need to help and take down the fear out of mountain biking in terms of the administration. Then, we all know, having run mountain bike projects for quite a while, and I was introduced as someone who has lived in Vienna. I'm actually not from Austria, I'm from Germany, but I used to live in Austria for 12 years. Having worked there as a forester, I got involved into mountain biking. I founded the Wienerwald Club, Wienerwald Trails, which is now one of the bigger clubs there, and we developed a lot of mountain bike infrastructure, so a big network of trails, and I had the chance with some friends to develop this small medium bike trail park, which has a small lift, and I learned a lot about the business side of mountain biking. We were idealists who set up this project. We have a restaurant, we have a bike shop, we have a bike school, we have even a lift, but financially, well, I didn't take any euro out of that until now, and it's for the last 7 years, but we have to invest every year, refresh and renewable marketing brand and all of that. So if you don't have money flowing back into that project from your kind of income, that makes it very hard to stay in the game for the competition, because we have so many more projects. Now, this is Lower Austria around Vienna. We have like 4 more projects coming up, but we are all competing for the same customer base, more or less. So we need to do that. So this is money you need to have available. So we talk about that. What is your renewable strategy? And then I think this is a key slide here, which will lead then to the project development. I think to build mountain bike trails, you need to have access to land. This is the biggest challenge we learned from Australia. They have 70% of public land in Australia. This is not the case in Europe, and this is definitely not the case in Germany, Switzerland, or Austria. And here we need kind of to come to a conclusion. How do we get together with landowners? How can we make them participate? And how can we kind of make it a win-win situation, which is always our access. If we develop these projects, we try to make it a win-win situation for land users, administration, the community, but as well for the people who want to ride there. This makes it really complicated, but I will showcase 2 projects which have different outcomes on that behavior. So one of the projects I wanted to talk about a little bit, this is a trail center borderless. Maybe if you look at this, oops, we want to go back. At the number there, this is 32 kilometers. It is right now in the building. It's a Czech-Saxon border region. It is next to the national park, and it is a project which has been funded by the European Union. It has been driven by 3 communities around, Sebnitz, Neustadt in Sachsen, and Dorney-Pussibner. So it's an Interact project, if you have heard that. We got a good funding for that. But it was a long way, 6 years of development, and now it is in the making. It will open next year, all the tenders, all the permission process, all the funding. It's a 3.5 million euro project for all of that. So keep that in mind, and that's why I'm talking about scale. And none of these communities here, the cities, have any experience with mountain biking, but they believed it. They are the innovators, the early adapters. I think it's a good chance for them because this area is economically pretty much devastated. So it's a touristic economic project. So we need to make sure that their expectations are going to be met, and then in the future it could be a good example, and it could be maybe a host for the next IMBA Summit, and it can be a meeting point for all the people in the area around there, because there is no much riding around. But Dresden is 1 hour away, Berlin city is 2 hours away, so I'm quite sure they will have their customer base. So that is one project, and here we have only public forests, so community forests and public forests. So Saxon Forest is the owner of this forest. Does it make it any easier? I would say it should, but it does not, because forest has strong reservations about mountain biking, about what we do to the forest and how they can operate their kind of forest timber production there. So that has a whole interesting outcome. This will be a recreational forest in the future. It will have trail running, mountain biking, it will have natural learning paths, and it will have 3 trail hubs which are connected here. You can see by a green trail and a lot of blue trails, because this is the kind of people who maybe come from the walking into the forest, renting a bike and then stepping it up. And this is exactly how we planned this project, and I think it will have a big impact because it's, I think, the biggest trail center so far in the development built at once over like 1.5 years. A different project, and this is like more established tourism destination, Schladming-Dachstein. I think in the German-speaking world, it's the third biggest ski destination, I would say, in the Austrian Alps. It has about 3.5 million visitors per year. It has operating 2 bike parks, I think 4 ski areas, and the visitor split is 1.5 million in the wintertime. Nowadays it's 1.5 million in the summer. And they have 2 bike parks, so you wonder what do you want still to develop? But it's quite clear for them, it's a climate change project, because what they can see here on the higher ups away from the ski areas, this is a cross-country skiing area where they made more than 1 million euro per year just by cross-country skiing, which is hardly possible any day because it's melting, coming. It's so important, expensive for them nowadays to operate cross-country skiing, so they're looking really at the people from the cross-country sports and families and hikers to get onto the mountain bike and offer them something to come and stay longer. So these are exactly our target groups here. And we developed with them under the funding of the climate change from the tourism ministry there, a project which is 60 kilometers in total. We connected the communities on top with different levels of trails. So this is a proper trail center where you can ride for a couple of days. I think for a couple of days you need something 30 kilometers plus. We have that here. It will be built in the next 3 years, I guess. The building starts next week. We have the permission process, but it's really complicated because we have so many communities and so much, let's say, skepticism against tourism. People who live in high-density tourism areas are not mostly keen on new projects. This is something I learned very much. Even if this area is so much depending on tourism, nobody wants to develop new projects here, but they need them. So that was a big challenge for us. And all of this forest there is no public forest. All of this forest is private land. So the tourism club there, which is a big organization with a lot of funding, had no meaning to convince them to give them their land to develop trails. This was absolutely, for a long time, a discussion. And in Austria, you need to know it's illegal to ride anything like outside. You can't ride a forest road. You can't ride on a hiking trail. So it's a special situation. And discussing now with mountain farmers about accessing their land and building trails there is a quite big challenge, I would say. So what we tried to develop was an idea, how can we make a win-win situation here for the forest owners? So all the area, you can see it's about 40 different landowners. We needed to figure out, and as an example, you can see, now we have different trails coming down using different parts of the land from different landowners. And we say, hey, why don't we make them from stakeholders to shareholders? Because normally in Austria it works like that. Every bike park pays a lease to the landowner, but then the landowner has no interest in anything like extending or how many people are riding there, and especially not on their small parcels because they have trouble with operating. They have timber production. So we say, okay, we want to distribute, we want to share the success with you. So we believe this will be a big success. So every time someone uses that trail, you get a small amount of an economical success. We share that with you. What do you think about that? And you get an additional, because it's a risk for you. We know it's a bet on the future. We have your lease, which will be lower than usual, but we say you can make it up by being a shareholder on that project. So it means we will build, and then we set up these counters in the future. So every trail ride will be counted. And this counting will be all administrated by an operational company, which has been just set up, which is a mix from the bike hotels and from the cable car operator there, to make sure that it's all in a transparent way. And the numbers here are collected, and there will be a payout per year, like a shareholder value, to the landowners. And we got, with this model, so we give them a value creation by being a shareholder for guests and the locals. It's a fair participation. It was fully transparent. Everybody gets the same amount of money from that. it's a success-based. So you should have an interest to give us your best land, which is best means the best suited for trail building. And if you want to extend that, you should be interested because you have learned that it's more value than you probably can get out of your small timber production. And we take it away in terms of all the operational hazards, all the liability. It's all on the operational company. So we had a 100% success rate with that project. So from all the meetings we had, I show some pictures later, the landowners directly jumped on this idea because it convinced them there's something in it which they hardly get from tourism projects. If they rent out a room, okay, that's their income from tourism in such a region. But most of them just are farmers or working somewhere as a waiter or something like that. So I will just shortly compare these two models. So this is a model for the borderless trail center in Sebnitz. So we cannot have tickets there. So, and I'm not saying this is a solution for everywhere. So in Schladming, these guys will sell tickets for entering their trails. It's a private investment. The tourist club will invest about 3 million euro into that project because they believe it's a strong economic benefit for them and a long-term strategy. So they decided for ticket. Here, there will be no tickets. At Sebnitz, Dolní Pustevna, this is not possible to the Czech legislation. I heard a lot of complaints from Czech trail centers. They would wish for a possibility to get more income, but it's not possible. So we needed an alternative model required. And so we went through that. And I think the easiest way or the best way would probably be to have a strong storyline why you should spend voluntarily on their trails, and you should express yourself in your support of your trails. You should make people really aware that it's an important key factor of extending and operating this trail center for the next coming years. As well, you need to develop models where you can get from the indirect value creation, so talking about local taxes on touristic operators and so on, to get it back into the operation of the trail system. We have a calculation here. We have operational costs for this trail center of 30 to 40,000 euros a year with maintenance, all this communication stuff, which is low calculation because it's at the Czech border, so we can obviously hire people from Czech Republic, lower a little bit the cost of maintenance and all of that. But it's a challenge. I have to say, it's a challenge for a community. I'm really glad that they bought in, but I got so many critical questions about affordability and long-term sustainability from each community meeting I went. It's high on their list, so it's really something not to miss out, and you have to have good answers to that. This is, again, the pictures from the landowner dialogues. We did so many workshops. With each of the peer groups, we did 2 workshops. First, we presented and scoped the ideas. Then we leave them alone with it, come back after two weeks, and then we start to work on their questions and work out on the model. And like I said, it was a very scary moment, I think, for the tourist club because they have shut down so many projects in the past which they wanted to develop, but we got 100% access to their land, and we have now contracts with each of them for 15 years. So for the next 15 years, this project is saved because it's also for the investment. 15 years is the absolute minimum, I would say, to invest so much money in that area. And I'm quite convinced in 15 years, everybody thinks it was a good idea. So the financial model of Schladming-Dachstein, it will have a ticketing system because they know their operating system. They have cable cars. They had already a ticket system for the cross-country lopes where they made 1 million euro from per year, like just for usage of the cross-country skiing. We have the involvement of the mountain railways, the cable car guys, which are mostly the financial, let's say, big heads in such a valley. So it was really important that they buy in on this idea, see it not this as a threat to their bike parks, as see as an extension to their bike parks and bringing new people to the level actually that they can enjoy these bike parks. One of them is the Planai, which is a World Cup downhill place, and the other one is a supposed family bike park, but it's way up too difficult, I think, for most people to enjoy. So this will be exactly in the middle of their portfolio in the bike area. We have the agreements required, so all the ticket revenues will go back to shareholders or only in the operations. There is no payout to any kind of investors or so. The money is kind of just for the trail system. We have a company behind that which operates it, but there's no like private, like the company behind us who runs the trail system has no benefit in financially because. So it's quite a clear governance model. I think all the maintenance is organized in that way. All the hazard management is organized in that way that we have money to run in emergency cases because, for example, last year we had a big bark beetle in the vicinity there, so it needed all to be cut down. All the area was closed. If we have that, we need to open it up rather soon, that we can ensure if we have the money available and not waiting for the landowners that they can do that. I think it has higher costs, but it's also sustainable through the direct revenue usage. So these are two models I can see from my point of view at the moment for what we need. We need large-scale mountain bike projects for the future to develop this kind of visions we have from Australia and also to develop this kind of best practice models we need for now to really ensure that people see the economic benefit of these kind of projects because it's still very hard to convince communities that mountain biking is bringing something to their table. A lot of the time, there's a big skepticism, and if we have these numbers in Germany or Austria, especially from large trail networks, I'm convinced it will be much easier in the future to get people in the buy-in. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Alex. Being that on time. So again, we'll just take any immediate questions for Alex.